Hey, good afternoon everyone, it's Trackman 44 here. Y'all are going to get tired of videos on this H. There's a whole ton of videos on this H from start to finish. But at any rate, not a restoration, just getting it back on the road again. But at any rate, I'm not a purist by any stretch of the imagination, simply because the tractors I work on, we want to get them running where they're reliable and usable and put them to work. One of these days, whenever I get a few more years on me, I'm probably going to settle down a little bit and, get rid of all the rust and get rid of all this pretty patina and paint one all up with all that fancy red paint, or fancy colored paint. But until that happens, I just ain't going to do it. But at any rate, having said that I'm not a purist, that leads you to believe that I fix things sometimes in a non-traditional fashion. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the H's and the way their battery box was. I don't even know myself, actually. But they had a little pedestal here. Some of them did, where the battery was kind of partially hanging out to the side and partially underneath the fuel tank and all that. I don't like that at all. Well, actually, I don't mind it, but it's not going to work in my particular case, for what I'm doing. So what I'm in the process of doing now is I'm making a different battery box that's going to serve my purposes. Somebody don't like it can just go ahead and, after I'm dead and gone, go ahead and buy the tractor and use all the original stuff and put it back the way they want to, you know what I mean? But for my use, it's just going to go the way it needs to go to get me a nice, good, secure mount for a battery. And we're going to go from there. This is the pedestal here, a portion of the pedestal. I don't even know what's missing outside of the rack that actually holds the battery. I don't have that at all. But this is a portion of the original. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to incorporate that, not even minding that I'm covering up the hydraulic fittings, because if I ever decide to use hydraulics, I got to put the drive coupling back on anyway, because I'm leaving that off because I don't intend on using hydraulics. But then I can just replumb these fittings under here to divert the hoses away from the battery box. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mount right off of that and use this real substantial part of a loader frame off of a Cub Cadet, and I'm going to come back here and I'm going to pick up one of the transmission cover housing bolts right here, and I'm going to come over and support this, and then of course the clutch is going to come right up here, and it's not going to intersect it because it's going to stop before it gets to the clutch, and then the edge of the battery is going to be within more than 2 inches away from this particular edge. So my foot, nothing should ever come into contact with it. I went ahead and cut this funny looking angle out of it. I'm going to heat this up right here. I'm going to bend that over. Now it's going to end up welding this tab, which is going to be over here, to the back of this, boring a hole down here for that transmission housing bolt, and it's going to bolt right in here and then hold this securely right there. That should give me a reasonably secure perch. And of course we'll use the backstop here as part of the frame, and we'll come around here, out whatever we need to be with 3 pieces of angle iron, and then make that battery enclosure right there. Okay, here it is. It's pretty much laid out, pretty much tacked in place. I have to take it off, put it on the workbench, and go ahead and finish up the welds around the perimeter. Of course the battery's going to go dead. Well, it's nice and secure. Everything is bolted on there really, really tight. The temporary tank is not going to be interfered with at all, as well as the regular fuel tank whenever I get that reinstalled. It's going to be nowhere near, the battery's going to nowhere near interfere with that at all. The clutch misses everything completely. Within an inch and a half or better of the clutch. The only thing, maybe if you ever put cultivators or something like that, you might have to do something, but like I said, I'm not ever going to do anything. The main thing I wanted to be is exceptionally substantial. I want it to be heavy. If you're off down in the woods and you run into something, like a side of a tree or a stump or something sticking up, you don't want to just crush anything, The original one, I don't really know what it was like, but it was probably protected fairly well, being tightened in a little bit closer to the side of the tractor. This here is hanging out there pretty good. But again, it does not matter to me. My main idea is to get the tractor back on the road, make it functional, and I'm not going to be using any implements that this would interfere with the operation of those implements. So yeah, it does everything that I need. There's no flex, it's sturdy as can be. It's going to support this battery or any other type of battery that I ever put in, with exception of the 6D and the 8D size, which you would never put in these little tractors anyway. Those are for bigger, bigger tractors with larger engines or industrial equipment. So the groups that I would be putting in this tractor are well within size to fit this configuration. Yeah, I got my wires color coded. I got red for positive, red for negative. At any rate, they'll fit in here no problem at all. I'll zip tie that all off. Got all the rest of the wiring connected. About ready to put some 80-90 in the transmission final drive, and we're going to try to fire this thing back up. I don't have any suspicion at all that it's not going to run. I think it's going to run just fine. The only other thing I got to do is finish the process of getting that tank sealed so I can get that tank reinstalled. Yeah, I'm really happy with this. I think it's going to be just fine. Again, it's by no means what guys that restore tractors would do, but you know what? I'll do different whenever I go to doing that kind of work. Don't do that now, I just like to make them run. So you know what? That's the end of this little blurb, and this Tractor Man 44, and I'm out of here, guys.